You're now enrolled in the School of BlackNegroJitsu. Is it your first day? Don't worry, the master, Leroy Stephan, and his co-instructors Dave, Mike, and Kyle take it easy on you, rookie. Before we get into this podcast, big shout out to our sponsor, Ball Club Box at ballclubbox.com. Ball Club Box is a sports apparel provider that provides their subscribers with monthly gift boxes full of quality licensed sports merchandise that reflects their customer support for their team. Usually these items only appear at specific stadiums or sports stores, but they intend to make it easier to customers to support their desired franchise without leaving their homes, and in some cases state by offering this subscription service. You pick the teams, they pick the items and send them to you each month. There's 3 different boxes. You got the club box, $55 for $75 worth of apparel. The executive club box, $75 for $125 worth of apparel. And the ball club season pass. That's the deal right there. That's $150 for 3 $75 boxes worth $125 each. That's $375 worth of stuff. That's $225 more than you paid. Ballclubbox.com. Go check it out. I'm telling you, they're the shiz. Also, do me a favor. Go check out Colby's Corner. That's Colby with a K. Corner with a K. I hope there's not another K. But go check out Colby's Corner on YouTube. Also, go check out colbyscorner.com. That's 2 Ks. I'm a writer for the site. Colby did the intro. Good friend of mine. Great YouTube channel. Analysis, breakdown of fights. Of course, articles by me and other MMA journalists, podcasters, whatnot. Colby's Corner, man. Go check it out. One of the fastest growing YouTube channels for MMA and one of the best online. Welcome to the School of BlackNegroJitsu, Class 13. I'm your host, the master of BlackNegroJitsu. Today I'm joined by only one of my co-instructors, Dave Mark. What's good, Dave Mark?
What's up, Laura? Everything's good everything's good in the neighborhood, I guess. How are you doing?
I'm great. We've got 2 great interviews for you. First up, we're going to go with Michael Bisping, striking coach, who's going to be featured in the main event this weekend. Jason Parillo, we got him on. And then second up, we're going to run an interview I did with Jonavin Webb a couple of weeks ago. So I hope you guys enjoy that as well. This is mostly a recap episode and a preview episode. We're going to be talking UFC Fight Night 119, all the events that surrounded that. And then we're going to do a bit of talking on the upcoming UFC 217 card. We're going to do, like I said, we're going to do the Jason Parillo interview, and we're going to do the Jonavin Webb interview. Jonavin Webb, UFC veteran, trained out of Henzo's for a while up there in New York. Great interview with him. But yeah, we got a lot on tap. Let's just jump right into it with the UFC 119 recap, UFC Fight Night Brazil. First up, Marcelo Gomes defeated Christian Colombo by absolute destruction. Christian Colombo, probably, if he comes back, he'll be in another smash matchup. Was brought in to lose. He lost handily, and the young rookie looked good. I like that. That's a great matchup. Good for the young prospect, Marcelo Gomes. Davison Alcantara Figueiredo, he wins a controversial split decision that I thought he should have lost. But in Brazil, Jared Brooks gave up the 3rd round. First 2 rounds were close. Well, the first round was close. Second round, I think, obviously went to Brooks. A little bit of karma coming back on Brooks. I thought he lost that Shelton fight. Dave, what did you think of the Brooks Figueiredo fight?
So, Laura, I can't opine. I saw this card in bits and pieces. So there's some fights I was able to tune into, and some fights I didn't see. And this was actually one of the fights I wasn't able to see.
Oh, okay. Well, all right, then just let me know which fights you did and did not see. Then chime in when you want. I'll just run down the card. Then Elijah Zaleski defeats Max Griffin in what was arguably the fight of the night, back and forth. Zaleski almost finished Griffin in the first. Griffin almost finished Zaleski in the second. Then it was uneventful third for Zaleski to take the decision. But a great fight between two great up-and-coming fighters. Next up, Jared Gordon beats the
Wait,
piss out of...
sorry. So that was actually one of the fights I did see, Laurent. And my question for you is, what did you think about the end of that first? Whether it was basically the ref in the confusion, whether the ref was calling off the fight, or if he was just calling the round at that point in time. If
he was calling the round, he was calling the round off. That was the end of the round. But if he would have stopped the fight, I wouldn't have blamed him. But this is mixed martial arts, and you got to give guys a chance, because you see Griffin came right back and just about won in the second. So, yeah, I won't ever too much argue for a stoppage, because there's too many ways to come back and win a fight. So, if the guy still wants to go and his corner hadn't thrown in the towel, let him go until he proves that he can't anymore. So, I say, until the guy shows, going into another round that he's done, let him keep fighting. And Max Griffin just about came back and won that fight. Big ups to Max Griffin. There was no losers in that fight. He had a great showing against Zaleski Dos Santos. Jared Gordon beat the piss out of Hakron Diaz. Impressive, or maybe Hakron Diaz was just unimpressive. I thought this fight was exactly what it would be. Hakron Diaz didn't seem to be in much shape, though, so he was outdone and beaten down. Jared Gordon, very active wrestle boxer. I don't think he's got the highest level skill set, but man, does he bring it every fight. Antonio Carlos Jr. walks over Jack Marshman. Vicente Luque does what I thought he would do to Nico Price, be better everywhere. I don't know what all that hype behind Nico Price was in that matchup. Nico Price is a hell of a talent. That was his first professional loss. But he's not the best grappler. He's not the best striker. He's been winning with a lot of grit. And, Luque was just better everywhere, man. I just didn't see how he was going to take that one. Next up, we had John Lineker beat Marlon Vera. I missed part of this one because I was at a Halloween party. But I think we all expected John Lineker to take that one. David versus Goliath in there, man. But Marlon Vera, this doesn't do anything bad for him. He's got a bright future ahead of him. He didn't get knocked out. That's very, I guess moral victories are terrible to take, but that's a great moral victory against John Lineker. Thiago Santos dismisses of Hermanson with ease in the first round. Maheta is a beast. There's not many people in the middleweight division that I would pick against him on too many days. Thiago Santos is an absolute monster. He's got vicious power. Next up, we had Jim Miller in there against Francisco Trinaldo. Predictably, Trinaldo took the decision here. I didn't think Jim Miller had too much of a chance in this one. Oh, man, Trinaldo, very hard to take down. If Jim Miller was going to have the edge there in any way, it was going to be with the takedowns. I did not see a lot of that fight, any of it, as a matter of fact. Like I said, Halloween party down at Ballpark Village, it was really great. So I missed a lot of that one, but I was not surprised by the result. Pedro Munoz with the big upset over Rob Font. Not shocked at all there. This was a very close fight. Vegas had loved Font, but Pedro Munoz, unless you're like the top of the box, you're the best of the best. You're not about to walk over Pedro Munoz. He only loses to the best. He's 15-2 in his career for a reason, and his guillotine choke is a done deal, man. Like that's him, Cody McKenzie, Worley Alvarez's guillotine. It's a couple other moves. Ronda Rousey's armbar. Once these moves get in from these specialists, it's a wrap, man. So I wasn't surprised by anything I saw from Pedro Munoz. Very impressive. He's a top level fighter. People oftentimes forget that because of the level of competition that he oftentimes faces, but he's only lost to the best in his career. So another great outing from him. Quit sleeping on Pedro Munoz. Next up, we had Colby, Chaos Covington, beating Damian Maia and needing to be escorted out by security in Brazil after his comments throughout the week about the Brazilian fans. Oh man, this goes way back with Colby Covington, man. They were giving him a really hard time down there in they weren't giving him a hard time, but when he was fighting Worley Alvarez, who is a Brazilian, some of his American top team teammates down there snitched on him and told Worley that he was hurt and told him where he was hurt. And when he fought Worley went right to his injury. Now, I think that might have been the second time that might have happened to Colby, in that he suspects that Brazilians within the camp went and told the Brazilian he was fighting what was wrong with him or what he was going to do, and clued them into his game plan. And he has been on the anti-Brazil train for a while now. And I don't know if it's I think it's good in one way, in that this is great heel heat. This is one of the more interesting things that's going on in mixed martial arts right now. Colby Covington versus Brazilians. It's an excellent angle. Whether he fights for a title or not, you got a million interesting fights within his division because of this heat with the Brazilians. You had Amanda Nunes tweet bad things at him. Other Brazilians from an American top team saying bad things. Ricardo Liborio leaving, apparently. We'll get to that in a second. But Colby Covington, man, this is good stuff. I like it. It's interesting. It drives interest. Dave, what do you think of Colby Covington's rant? A lot of it is based in reality and what happened with him and the Brazilians and in his camp and his opponents over the past couple fights. But I think some of this is just fight hype. How do you like this angle that Colby Covington is doing, playing the Me Against Brazil card? What do you think of it, Dave?
I think it's. I mean, the kids definitely got skills. I think it definitely attracts some of that heel heat that you were talking about. It really makes him a subject of a lot of talk. Now there's a possibility that he fights Kamaru Usman, and the winner of that possibly fights Tyron Woodley. He's really done enough to, supplement his skill set and kind of shoot his shot, right? By doing this, he's really become target number one, and he's really just kind of brought his name to the forefront with this. So whether it is a true hatred for Brazilians, or if it's just a marketing ploy, it's definitely catapulting him to the top of the list of possible title contenders to fight Tyron Woodley. So that, combined with his skill set, is definitely working in his favor. I was actually on Instagram, and it looks like Ben Saunders was tweeting something, and I'll read it here. He said, "Ricardo Liborio is a joke." Covington said, "That guy's been at ATT for over 3 years. That guy's a complete joke, trying to use my name and my fame and the stuff with Brazil to put him over and make him look like the good guy from ATT."
Okay, hold on one second. Before we get to that, I just want to talk a little bit more on Colby Covington. I just want to point out the fact that a lot of this is based in reality, though. Excellent play on everything. I guess it's kind of serious because people might kick your ass, but I guess security was able to get a hold of them and sprint them out. But this is what more fighters need to be doing. They need to be playing on the nationalities, and even if you give them an inch, even if it's based off something that happened, a lot of fighters snitch on people in their camp to their friends and tell them what they're doing. Get an inch, take a mile. That's how you make money in this sport. Is with the extracurricular stuff, with your personality and whatnot. But going on to Ricardo Liborio, go ahead and keep touching on that. You said he's been reportedly gone for years, months.
No, so I'll start from the top again.
And for all you guys that don't know, Ricardo Liborio is one of the founders of ATT, if I'm not mistaken. Black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, one of the coaches and one of the founders of ATT, who have reportedly said he's leaving in the light of, not because of what Colby Covington did, but in the light of what Colby Covington did.
I'll start from the top. Ricardo Liborio is a joke, Covington said. That guy's been out of ATT for over 2 to 3 years. That guy's a complete joke, trying to use my name and my fame and the stuff with Brazil to put him over and make him look like the good guy from ATT. He's been out of ATT for a while. He was using Dan Lambert, the ATT owner. He was using Dan. He was picking up these paychecks 2 or 3 years ago, never showing up to work. That guy's a con man. He's a scumbag, and he's acting like a piece of shit, trying to use my name to put him on said, right? Covington also explained why he's not particularly bothered by criticisms from some of his other ATT stablemates. I'm ATT to the bone. I have my close circle of people, my clique. Jorge Masvidal, Mike Brown, Dan Lambert, Covington said. I'm not friends with everybody. It's a gym, but this is a one-man sport. So it doesn't look like he's making many friends. Ben Saunders actually posted this on his Instagram and completely went in and was is calling Covington a piece of shit and an ignorant fuck. So he's really not making any friends.
Are they any friends in mixed martial arts anyway, though? They're not. I mean,
no, there aren't. But
like I said, the Brazilians in his camp, they weren't doing him any favors when they were telling his and all these guys do that, man. When they're fighting somebody that's in their camp or that they train with, they go tell their buddy, this is what he does good, this is what he does bad. Those guys that you're training with, and that's got to be a bitter pill to swallow, to know that people that are supposed to be on your side or on your team or whatever, they're not your friends at all, and they don't care if you win or lose. So, I mean, I don't support necessarily what Colby says, but I understand his feelings because there is no team in this sport, and since there's not, I don't mind him playing up the heel heat. I think it's halfway legitimate feelings because he's went off about this before, but I think it's also an entertainment element to it as well, and I like it.
So I don't want to steer too far off the topic, too far off the conversation, but what do you think about, I guess, going forward? Very rare this day and age, right? Because a lot of guys are trying to capitalize on the popularity of sport and make money. So you see a lot of these super teams. But what about like the relationship kind of like Matt Hume and Demetrius Johnson have? Do you see things like this? Maybe not like, really soon, but maybe somewhere down the line, seeing more of fighters trying to work exclusively with very small teams or very small circles with kind of this, I guess we'll call it the spy mentality, where in American Top Team, the Brazilians are giving out injuries or information that should be kept exclusively within camp.
When you get the money, it's not just the Brazilians, it's everybody. The black guys, the white guys, they're all doing that crap. If there's a nationality or a group, you better watch them. If you're fighting a black guy that knows another black guy, you better watch it. If you're fighting a Polak, or what do you say for Polish? What are they?
So I believe the first term used was derogatory, but
no, I'm so sorry to all my Polish fans.
I want to see. I'm not Polish. I'm a Ruski, but I believe you would call them Poles. I could be wrong.
Okay, Poles, not Polak.
No. I think that won't get you many Polish fans going forward.
All right, yeah. So if you fight a Pole against another Pole, you better watch it. If you fight a Danish against another Danish, man, watch your back. But yeah, I think as people get more money, they'll start to try and privatize their camps like boxers do, because you don't want all your shit out there in the street. And you get to these big public places and it'll be that way. Those big public are perfect in the beginning. But if you can get a Matt Hume and you can have a small camp that's kind of centralized around you, I think that's the perfect thing. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that is the future, though. As people are kind of getting sick of training with people that they're eventually going to have to end up fighting. So, yeah, the future is going to be training within your own camps. Once the money starts coming in like it should, once we got more big-time fighters making big-time money. Can't do that right now. And also, another obstacle to that is the fact that, well, you got so many skill sets you got to train. So it's hard to be independent when you're not an expert wrestler, you're an expert striker, or you're an expert wrestler but don't have your striking. Fight camps are always the best way to go. As you start getting higher up in the ranks or whatever, you need to start being more careful and selective with who your training partners are and who you're training in front of. I think that's the big solution there. Main event, we had Derek Brunson taking on Lyoto Machida in what was ultimately a slaying and burial of the Dragon. Machida was countered viciously and put down. I think this needs to be the end of the Lyoto Machida era. He is absolutely not the fighter he used to be. If anybody was going to get countered, I thought it'd be Derek Brunson, but no, Lyoto Machida was countered and then brutally finished on the ground. He's not durable anymore. I mean, he's pretty much a shot fighter, I think. When you get knocked out like that by Derek Brunson, I don't know. I mean, no shame on Derek Brunson, but this is the Dragon we're talking about. I think he needs to retire and do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournaments or something, because it's just not there as far as his chin and his durability goes anymore. Dave, what do you think?
So I think that I thought the Dragon was dead a long time ago. I think that the best part of that entire fight for Lyoto was coming out to the Game of Thrones theme song. think that was the only highlight of the fight for him. I think that, to be brutally honest, and maybe I'm in a class of my own, Derek Brunson has all the athletic gifts in the world to really be a contender, but he is up there with some of the dumber fighters in the sense of ring generalship and like IQ. For example, he had Whitaker rocked and completely gassed himself out and then got knocked out. He fought a little too timid against Anderson Silva. I feel like he's a good wrestler who doesn't go to his wrestling enough. I feel like if he actually had fight IQ or like a real camp, because I know he used to switch camps between some rinky-dink gym that he trains out of in North Carolina and Jackson's out in New Mexico. But I don't know what he needs. But I think if he had a change or consistently committed himself to maybe training at Jackson's or some top camp and was somehow able to kind of, adapt to the way he approaches fights, I really think he has plenty of freaking talent. And I think that he's got that athletic ability to go with it. I just think he doesn't have the ring IQ. That's just my take on Brunson. I agree. I think Lyoto's got to hang it up. The last fight, I think before this, was when Yoel Romero stopped him, and then he had that suspension, the 2-year suspension, and he came back, got stopped in the first round, and he's a shell of his former self. He's not, karate Lyoto like we saw, not the guy who made Rashad do the stanky leg or, absolutely dismantle Randy Couture. He's not that same guy. He's older. Some of it could possibly be attributed to, I'm putting air quotes up here, supplements, because he pissed hot. So I don't know what it is, but I think he's a shell of his former self. He's definitely got to hang it up. And that was that vicious. There's a fairly vicious knockout. He looked like he was on the mat it looked like he kind of had to scrape him up off the mat. So I think he definitely needs to hang it up after this fight.
Yeah, I did not like to see that with Machida. But I want to go back to Ricardo Liborio here. We did not touch on his departure. What's up with his departure? Was he already gone, or has this been in the works for a long time? What is the angle on this? He says he left the team 3 months ago.
So from my understanding, he didn't reveal why he left. Supposedly it's not completely attributed to this Colby Covington thing. Supposedly he already had 1 foot out the door and he was already leaving the gym. According to what I read, and Covington's take on it, what I was telling you is that Covington was basically saying that he's basically been out the door 2-3 years ago and he was just conning Dan Lambert and just showing up and picking up paychecks basically and not really doing much. I don't know what the true story is, but like I said, is he supposedly already had 1 foot out the door and he was already planning to depart from ATT. So I don't know if the Covington thing was just a straw that broke the camel's back, but he supposedly was already out the door and didn't completely attribute this to Covington. He really said Covington had no real bearing on his decision.
All right. I mean, it's kind of weird for one of the guys that's been there since the beginning to just announce that post Colby Covington. I don't know why he is so, let's say, unprofessional in announcing it. I don't know. I guess we'll learn more about that as we move on in the future. But let's go ahead and move forward with this week. I was able to have the honor of having Michael Bisping, striking coach, on for an interview. Jason Parillo was swamped due to this being fight week and having so many other fighters to train, but it was an honor to have him on. Also, I got as mentioned in the title, I got a quick cameo from Rafael Dos Anjos. So he's on the show too. It's only for like 2 seconds, but damn it, he's on here. So Jason Parillo, quick cameo from Rafael Dos Anjos. We're talking all things Bisping, Georgia St. Pierre for this weekend. Why the Bisping fight camp believes they're going to beat arguably the greatest mixed martial arts fighter of all time. So just enjoy. Thanks to big ups to Jason Parillo for tuning in. And if Michael Bisping wins this, according to my word, I'm getting me some Michael Bisping jammies. All right, guys. Enjoy the interview. Jason Parillo, Michael Bisping striking coach. Welcome back to the School of BlackNegroJitsu. Excellent to have you here 1 week before UFC. Is it 217, correct?
217.
Okay, I'm getting lost with these numbers, man. This is too much. But UFC 217, Bisping versus GSP. I believe on the last show you were a bit unprofessional. I think you had been partaking in medical marijuana because you said Bisping is going to beat GSP or something like that. That's just because you were high, right?
Hey, man, I don't smoke dope.
You don't? Well, what
No,
was with? Well, you were drinking then. Is that what it was?
No, I partake in the medical marijuana and a little bit of the drinking, but no, I that's my belief there, my man. Unfortunately, unfortunately every time every podcast or interview I've been doing a little bit about this. Every guy interviewer seems to be a little bit of a GSP nut hanger. I don't know what it is, man.
Because we know who GSP is and we know who Michael Bisping is. When GSP was headlining cards in Toronto and doing 1 million pay-per-view buys or whatever, Michael Bisping was fighting on Fight Pass, man. Like, what's going on here? How did this matchup come to fruition? We got Michael Bisping and GSP, and I believe Michael Bisping might be he's not a betting favorite, but he's pretty damn close.
I'm doing an interview right now. Sorry, man. Say hi to RDA.
Hello,
RDA?
guys.
What's good, RDA? How you doing?
All good. Thank you.
Oh, well, excellent to have you. All right. Yeah, is Jason back? Who is that?
I'll be in a sec, RDA. All right, bud.
Yeah, man, but all right, in all seriousness, though, as the fight is getting...
Hey, that's hard work is what happened. You might have seen Mike on Fight Pass, but you've seen him on it all. You've seen him on Fox. You've seen him on pay-per-views. You've seen him headline pay-per-views. You see him do a lot over the years. You got to remember the last 4 years while GSP was sitting back doing what he does. You know, Mike has been headlining cards and fighting big events. So,
in all honesty, though, Michael Bisping, I believe it. Luke Rockhold mentioned it after he upset Luke Rockhold. This is his destiny, man. Now that the sport is cleaned up, there's no more steroids, post-USADA. Michael Bisping is an excellent representation of what was happening to clean fighters, and that they were really at a supreme disadvantage against guys who were roiding, who were using performance-enhancing drug. Michael Bisping is a fighter's fighter. He is a blueprint for all the young journeymen out there, or all the, let's say, not average guys, but everybody, most guys in the world. He's a blueprint for what can happen when you work hard and dedicate yourself to the sport. And honestly, as this fight is getting closer, I'm beginning to drink the Jason Parillo Kool-Aid and starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, he can find an upset here. Because if I know one thing about Michael Bisping, is that he works his ass off. And but I wanted to ask you, what exactly do you think is his route to victory here? We know that Georges St. Pierre has made NCAA championship wrestlers look like they never stepped in a wrestling room before. Mm-hmm. Why do you think, and this is the bottom line, why do you think that Michael Bisping is going to be able to do what Johnny Hendricks couldn't do, what Josh Koscheck couldn't do, what so many other great fighters have not been able to do up to this point? So many other great grapplers, Cairo Parisian. I mean, why is Michael Bisping going to be able to deal with the elite level of grappling that Georges St. Pierre brings to the table 1 week from now?
Well, it's an easy answer. He's better than all those guys. He's better than every guy you just mentioned, and that's a fact. At
wrestling?
He's better at putting it all together. He's not a wrestler. He's not the guy that's going to tie you up and try to get in a wrestling match. He's a fighter. But as far as his defensive wrestling, and he's got some offensive wrestling. Don't get it fucking twisted. The guy's been in the gym, and he's competed against high level wrestlers. He's competed against grapplers, strikers. He's competed against everybody. He really he's improved since you've seen him last in the Dan Henderson fight, and he really blends the whole MMA game together better than all these guys, and I truly believe he does. And he'll show that next week.
Now, there have been a few distractions for Mr. Bisping leading up to this camp. A certain lawsuit that came out of a club fitness. I used to train at club fitness. I no longer do. But do you think these distractions will be any sort of impediment to his focus for the fight next week? Where do you think Michael Bisping is at mentally right now?
He's in a solid place mentally. I mean, there's always going to be distractions, and especially when you're the champion, because everybody's pulling at you. You got a target on your back, and Mike Bisping has been dealing with distractions his entire career. I mean, he's got a lot of energy and he draws a lot of attention. So, I mean, it's nothing new. That I mean, as far as once it comes to the fight, that's his main focus. You know, as soon as we get on a plane tomorrow, as far as anything going on outside this fight, you know, he's got the ability to kind of, you know, put that aside. And even if it is in his head, I mean, you got to remember, I mean, Mike has been dealing with pressure and putting pressure and on his back. I mean, he had a distraction of filming a movie before he fought Luke Rockhold, now didn't he? You know, and took that on a few weeks' notice. So, you know, he filmed a movie before Dan Henderson. He's a busy guy. He's got a ton of energy, and for me, it almost helps him. You know, it just keeps him going. You know, if you let Bisping just sit in a room and just stew and think about the fight he has coming up you know, he sits around and does that all day. It's no help to him. He needs to be distracted. He needs to be moving and working and busy, and that's just the way it is. That's the way Michael is. That's why he's that blueprint that you say of a hard-working fighter, you know, that doesn't let anything get in his way. So, you know, I don't think there's going to be any psychological problems with Mike whatsoever going into this fight.
Do you think that he's adequately prepared? I need you to give me the exact details, but has he been doing the things he needs to do to deal with the elite level of grappling Georges St-Pierre brings to the table? He better be training with the British Olympic wrestling team, even though I don't think they're very good. But he better have found Khabib Nurmagomedov's people or something. Daniel Cormier. He better have been doing some wrestling, because otherwise he's going to be in trouble. Do you feel comfortable that he's adequately prepared for the challenge that he's going to face in a week, arguably against the greatest grappler in mixed martial arts history? Because remember, Georges St-Pierre didn't grow up wrestling. He just worked his ass off to become the best big mixed martial arts grappler in the world.
Yeah, I mean, he's got impeccable timing, man. His timing and his setup on his shots are fucking, like you said, second to none, really. And are we just fucking morons and didn't fucking work on grappling? I mean, Jesus, you know, we're like, fuck, we're not even gonna get taken to the ground. Let's not even focus on grappling. Of course, you know what I mean. We every fight we focus on the whole kit and caboodle, the whole game, but also for the most part, you know, we're gonna focus on some more areas more than others when it comes to who we're fighting. And like you said, we're fighting arguably the best grappler that's ever fought in the MMA game. So yes, of course, we have been preparing for that.
Excited about appearing on the New York card next week. You, Michael Bisping, how does the camp feel right now?
Camp feels great. Everybody's happy. Everybody's very, very excited about Mike. Mike's a world beater right now. You know, he's stopping guys in the gym. He's at the level that he needs to be for this fight. We're extremely excited, and everybody's extremely confident.
Now, if Michael Bisping pulls this off, I'm getting Michael Bisping underwear, Michael Bisping jammies, Michael Bisping nightcap. I'm getting the whole dude. Do they sell this? You know, anywhere where I could be provided with this? Because if it happens, I'm decked out in Michael Bisping gear, man.
I'm gonna have it custom made for you today.
Yeah, because I won't be able to believe it, man. But as the fight is getting closer, people talking about Georges St-Pierre is fat and stuff like that. I don't know, man. He beat Anderson Silva somehow, some way. He beat Jesus. Who else did he beat lately? He beat Dan Henderson somehow, some way. Maybe he beats Georges St-Pierre somehow, some way. I don't know though.
He's going to beat Georges St-Pierre somehow, some way. I hate to burst your bubble. Last night I did a podcast also as well. The guy was a big GSP.
You talking about with Blake Stevenson with Money Blake? Yeah,
Money Blake, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys love GSP. That's what's going to make this victory so much more sweeter now, isn't it?
Because we know, man,
Hey,
we've been watching the sport since they were both great. But I know you've got to leave, so I think that's all I got for you today, Mr. Parillo. Thank you for contributing once again to the School of Black Negro Jitsu. If you got any shout outs or anything else to say, it's your time right now. But otherwise, yeah, I'm done.
okay. No, I appreciate it. I'm going to, fortunately, I work, the gym that I'm at is a clothing company as well. So I'm going to go in there. And what size are you? I'm going to get your Michael Bisping underwear, your Michael Bisping t-shirt, and what do you want, shorts or sweats?
I go with sweats. Yeah, I'll text message it to you if you actually were to do.
Yeah, text me all that info. I'm gonna make sure we get it to you. Maybe even before the fight, you can wear it while the fight's going on.
All right. If you actually do that, that would be crazy as hell. But thank you for your contribution to the School of Black Negro Jitsu today.
Bud. Hey, nice talking to you, man.
Nice talking to you as well. Hope you guys enjoyed that interview. Jason Parillo brought in Rafael Dos Anjos for a quick 2 seconds. The Bisping camp really believes in the narrative that he's going to be successful this weekend. I do not. Georges St. Pierre has a piston-like jab. He's got great takedowns. He's arguably the greatest fighter of all time. And Michael Bisping is simply not. I don't see how somebody that was a Fight Pass fighter is going to beat the very best of all time here in this spot. Georges St. Pierre is still probably the best wrestler, one of the best wrestlers in mixed martial arts history. His jab is punishing and ferocious, and I just don't understand how Bisping has anything to be able to overcome that. He's not going to be able to throw kicks this weekend. This fight, I got GSP.
I'm on the GSP train as well. I don't think that Bisping should be the middleweight champion. I don't know how he still is the middleweight champion. One lucky punch against Luke Rockhold, surviving a fight against a very, very old Dan Henderson. And now, I guess, I don't know who this fight is handpicked for, GSP or Bisping. I want to see how GSP kind of looks after a layoff. He didn't look like his best self before he retired, fighting Johnny Hendricks. But this is me believing less in Bisping as opposed to believing more in GSP, if that makes sense, right? Like, I just think Bisping is that bad as opposed to GSP being that good. Not saying that GSP is not one of the best of all time. I'm just saying after a 4-year layoff and not looking the best before he retired, who knows how that's going to affect him. But I just – and there's the little bit of size difference. Let's see how that comes into play. But if I have to pick somebody and if I had to bet the house on somebody, it would probably be GSP.
Yeah, I'm GSP all day, man. I don't – they forgot who GSP is. I hear tickets aren't selling that well. He's arguably one of the best ever. Him, John Jones, Demetrius Johnson, they're all in that class. I think it's a foregone conclusion what happens this weekend. If Michael Bisping, he's not going to be able to throw any kicks. Georges St. Pierre catches those and gets takedowns. He's not going to have many tools to work with. I just don't see his avenue to victory. Cody Garbrandt versus TJ Dillashaw, UFC 217. I got Cody Garbrandt. TJ Dillashaw is a lesser version of Dominic Cruz, and Cody Garbrandt wiped the floor with him. What do you think, Dave?
I think, and I'm just going to go contrarian here. I really couldn't pick a side, but I'm going to go with Dillashaw on this one. I just think that so it's hard to gauge it because I guess people thought that Cody was really emotionally invested or emotionally drained or was going to be emotionally drained coming into that fight with Dominic, with all the things that Dominic was saying about him. It seems like he's a very, very emotional version of himself with that whole Team Alpha Male drama over Dillashaw leaving Alpha Male and going to train with Dwayne in Colorado. While he might be a lesser version of Dominic Cruz, I feel like in the movement area, I think he's definitely a better striker or the crisper striker. And I think it'll be a decision. I think it'll be razor close. But I see either going two ways, and I think Dillashaw by very close decision, by split decision, or Garbrandt with a knockout, because we saw what Dodson did to Dillashaw on The Ultimate Fighter. But it seems like Dillashaw just gets better and better every fight. He lost a very close decision to Dom. But then, that fight against Lineker, he looked amazing. Was just absolutely ragdolling Lineker. Lineker couldn't do anything. If he's able, we haven't seen Cody have to go to wrestling, so I really want to see that. I want to see. There's nothing more I love to kind of see Cody just get planted to see how he deals with some top pressure or being on the ground, because we haven't seen a fight go that way with Cody. So I think it'd be real close. I'm thinking Dillashaw ekes out a decision.
I don't see it. I think Cody Garbrandt is the best fighter in the world in that weight class, and he will show it on Saturday. TJ Dillashaw, like I said, lesser version of Dominic Cruz. Joanna and Jacek, I think this fight will be closer than a lot of people are expecting. Rose Namajunas, her striking is very, very good. She's got Pat Barry in her corner. This is going to be the toughest fight that Joanna has had outside of Claudia Gadelha. I think this is going to be a very, very, very close fight. I just think Rose is going to give Joanna hell. And she's got the takedowns, too. She's a top-level grappler. Hopefully we see some of that as well. But Joanna champion, this is going to be a tough task because Rose Namajunas does not have many holes in her striking game that I can discern. Dave, what do you think of this fight?
I think that I don't think it's going to be Joanna's toughest fight to date. I think that Rose seems to kind of crumble under pressure. She struggled. I mean, she lost to Carla Esparza way back on The Ultimate Fighter. She lost to Karolina Kowalkiewicz. There's nobody in that division I think could stop Joanna champion. It feels like everybody throws everything they can at her, and they just can't. We saw what she absolutely did to Andrade. I think that the only fighter in that division that stands a chance or stood a chance prior to that dismantling of her by Jessica Andrade was Claudia Gadelha. I think the only thing that was preventing Claudia from beating Joanna was her gas tank. But I don't see anybody in that division being able to beat her. And it basically, Joanna wiped the whole entire floor with that division. So Rose is basically her consolation prize. I think she puts a lot of pressure on her, and I think she gets a third or fourth round stoppage in this fight.
I don't think so, man. I think Rose Namajunas is a tough out, man. She's a great fighter. She deserves this title shot, and I think she's going to do big things this weekend. Next up, Stephen Thompson versus Jorge Masvidal. I think it'll be a very close fight, but I figure that Stephen Thompson should kind of edge this one out. I think he is the best fighter in the division outside of Tyron Woodley, and that's why I can. I mean, Jorge Masvidal is great too. Should be a very close fight. Something like a split decision or something. It should be a great fight, but I think Stephen Thompson gets it just barely. I don't know though. Jorge Masvidal is a hell of a fighter. He's game to fight with anybody on any given Friday or Saturday. Dave, what do you think?
I'm gonna try and keep it short and sweet. I agree with you 100%. I think that there's either two ways this fight could go, and either there's going to be some fireworks, and it's going to be a really good fight, or it's going to be, and I think it's going to be the latter of the two. I think it's going to be boring as shit, because I think Stephen Thompson, I think Wonder Boy's going to try to keep this fight at bay, kind of try to use that range and that funky kickboxing style or karate style he uses to really keep the range. And I don't think that Jorge's a pretty smart fighter, so I think he'll try and find some angles or try and find some entry points and kind of fight a slow-paced fight as well. So I think we see a little bit more of a Tyron Woodley, Wonder Boy type of stalemate, slow grind him out type of fight. But I do agree. I think Wonder Boy is the best fighter in that division, not named Tyron Woodley. So I think he ekes out a decision as well.
Yeah, I think Johnny Hendricks he either wrestles or to a decision or gets smashed against Borchia. I got Joe Duffy over James Vick. What else I think is interesting here? The ticket to kill Guy Beer. Mickey Gall should get the grappling going against Randy Brown. Cutelaba should destroy Mikhail. I can't say his name. Curtis Blades over Olenek. Iman Zahabi in a close one over Ramos. How do you feel about some of these fights? Anything stand out to you?
Not really, to be brutally honest. I'm for the most part, I think I'm in agreement with you. The only one I might see going a different way, and it's the only one I kind of see possibly going a different way is Olenek doing some type of funky fucking submission, and Curtis Blades takes him to the mat. It's maybe something from the bottom, but I do think Curtis Blades actually beats him. And then I'm in agreement in the sense that I think Borrachina absolutely smashes Hendricks. I think Hendricks is a shell of his former self. I think the more interesting thing to talk about prior to this fight or the more interesting battle is going to be Hendricks and his weight, and see if he misses weight again. So for the most part, I'm in agreement with you, Lara.
Yeah. I think it's a great card. I'm not going to do a full in-depth breakdown because I'm just about to do that on the MMA Edge Fantasy Podcast. So that's why I gave a quick little rundown. Hope you tune in to the MMA Edge Fantasy Podcast later. Anyway, Tyron Woodley wants the winner of GSP Bisping. The only way I see that going down is if Michael Bisping is going to win. If GSP wins, I think he goes and maybe fights like maybe he fights Conor McGregor, Nate Diaz, Nick Diaz. I think they want him to be champion and have a good run. I don't think they want him to lose the title. Tyron Woodley is a tough matchup. I don't think it's not that GSP can't win, but I don't think you want to put both those great champions up against each other and ruin a great draw possibly in GSP. Although I think GSP is the better fighter historically. That being said, if Bisping wins, the UFC will have no problem feeding him to Tyron Woodley. I think that would be a great fight, a great feeding. I think would do great thing for Tyron Woodley's career. But yeah, GSP, I think he wants to fight Conor McGregor, although that's absolutely a terrible matchup for Conor McGregor. I think that's the fight the UFC would like to see way down the road is hopefully GSP can maintain his status. Then McGregor can maintain his status, get a couple wins under his belt, and then you could have a fight where nobody gets hurt. But McGregor needs about 2 or 3 more wins in order to get in that situation. Dave, what do you think of Tyron Woodley won Bisping the winner of Bisping GSP?
I was listening to another pod, and they were saying somebody was saying along the same lines of that if GSP wins, he possibly even ends up vacating the title and moving down to 155 or 170 and fighting McGregor. I think McGregor would probably fight him at 155, but I do agree. I think we maybe see some tune-up fights. I saw some news circulating about, not news, but I guess thoughts circulating about Conor maybe fighting in Boston to start off 2018 because UFC just announced, I think, the first pay-per-view they're going to have. UFC, I want to say 2020 is 220 is going to be in Boston, so that's a possible really good place to have McGregor fight with that very rowdy Southie Irish crowd. All the Fitzies and so on and so forth coming through to watch Conor fight. So let's see. But I kind of agree with you. I don't see GSP staying at that weight class, even if he wins. So I think for Tyron Woodley to get a shot at either one of these guys, I think the best thing he can do is hope for a Bisping win here.
Yeah, I think that. I hope Bisping doesn't win. Though I wouldn't be able to stomach him beating Anderson Silva and Georges St. Pierre. His ego would be on fleek. I don't want to hear about it. John Jones. Cryptic tweet talking about he can get to the top of the mountain again. I hope that means he's coming back soon. I hope that means good things for his career as far as his drug test suspension will go. I'm rooting for John Jones. I want to see him fight again at ASAP. Dave, what do you think about this? You think this means good things for his career?
I hope so. I'm in agreement with you a lot tonight, Lara. I mean, John Jones is definitely one of the best fighters, I think, of our time, or obviously in the MMA ever. The things he does, the things he's capable of, he's just athletic. He's got a great fight IQ. He always puts on a hell of a performance. And I really hope, I mean, I like a comeback story. I hate that he keeps fucking up. Or even if this time around it wasn't necessarily his fault, I just hate seeing the guy keep getting popped for stuff. I just want to see him really make a comeback and actually enjoy watching him fight without seeing a 2-year break or a year break in between every single one of his fights, because he's just a whole different type of animal. I don't know that when the next time we see somebody like him in the sport is. So I hope that cryptic tweet does mean he's coming back ASAP, and hopefully we see the best John Jones, and hopefully there's no going back. Hopefully he's here to stay this time. So
yeah, I'm wishing all the best for John Jones.
Yeah, the first piss hot was I think he should get a piss hot free pass because it was for some BS, dick pills or whatever. I don't think he should be on the 4-year type deal now. I think if anything, he should get suspended for a year. They shouldn't count that first one because of the nature of it. But, oh well, I'm hoping John Jones gets back in the cage soon. Small infraction, big penalty. Mike Tyson came back after a rape, for God's sake. Just let John Jones fight. God, get clean, stay out a year, and then come back. Anyway, that's it for the School of Black Negro Jiu-Jitsu today. We're going to end with the Jonavin Webb interview that I did a couple weeks ago. Hope you guys enjoyed that. I believe he talked about a phenomenon that happened during the fight that he never talked about before. So more groundbreaking news on the School of Black Negro Jiu-Jitsu from Jonavin Webb. Next week, who am I going to have next week? Probably Damon Jackson. Maybe Abdul Razak Hassan. I've got that interview on deck. And then T-Ball Guti also. I don't know which ones exactly I'm going to run, but we got a lot of great stuff on deck. But yeah, guys, hope you guys enjoyed the podcast. Make sure you enroll to the School of Black Negro Jiu-Jitsu. It's free. Stitcher, SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, Google Play, anything you can think of. But peace out and enjoy the interview, guys.
All right. Jonavin Webb, welcome to the School of Black Negro Jiu-Jitsu. It is awesome to have you here today. UFC veteran, former CFFC welterweight champion of the world, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt under Daniel Gracie. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing great.
That is awesome, Jonavin. Of course, people might have remembered Jonavin from his UFC run, short, but nonetheless, very young man. 2 UFC fights under his belt at the tender age of 28, and I believe a bright future ahead. Jonavin, let's just get everybody acquainted with you and your martial arts background. How did you get into the martial arts? I know you got a wrestling background. I know you got a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu background that started, I believe, simultaneously in high school. What got you into BJJ and wrestling and then subsequently the mixed martial arts? Go ahead and give everybody your background real quick.
Yeah, so I mean, I've actually wrestled since I was a kid. So I wrestled my whole life, and then I got into a little bit of trouble in high school, and I stopped wrestling for a year, and then I came back and I started wrestling again, and it was actually my cousin was a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school just opened a couple towns over from me, and he told me that if I wanted to go grapple, that they're having like this open mat. So in my head, I thought like wrestling was grappling. So I went with him thinking I was gonna go there and beat some older guys up, and I went there and I got my ass kicked. So with my one instructor, Brian McPherson, it was him who was a black belt at the time. there was a brown belt, and there was a purple belt, and they were all like 40-something years old, and I really thought I was gonna, beat them up pretty good, and they literally just did whatever they wanted to me, and from that day I just got addicted to it, and I just wanted to learn how I was being controlled so well. So I literally went for the first 2 years. I don't think I missed one day of practice.
Okay, all right. And was this a typical wrestler's experience in that although you probably acquitted yourself pretty well, you got caught in a lot of submissions that you had no knowledge of, and that as a wrestler you were just very susceptible to triangles, maybe guillotine, stuff like that, ankle locks and stuff?
Yeah, so in jiu-jitsu, a lot of times in practice you start on the knees. So we were starting on the knees at first, and I was already thrown off by that. And then they kept like choking me, rear nakeds and guillotines and stuff like that. And then at one point I was like, man, this is like sucks starting on the knees. So then they were like, all right, if you want to go to the feet, we can go to the feet if you want. And then I would like shoot in to get a takedown, and I'll take them down, and then they'll still get me in a guillotine or, sweep me or do something like that. So, like I said, they just did what I had really good control. I was strong. I was a pretty good wrestler at the time when I was 17, and I felt like I was controlling them. And then all of a sudden, I'm tapping to them.
Okay, all right. And how did that kind of translate eventually into a mixed martial arts career? You signed with the UFC, I believe, at the tender age of 25. So,
yeah.
And that was coming off of a no contest versus current UFC veteran Lyman Good at CFC 48. But how did you get into mixed martial arts fighting? How'd you get your first fight?
Yeah, so my first fight, I literally never trained MMA ever before. I was a blue belt at jiu-jitsu at the time, and I had my wrestling. I wrestled my freshman year in college, and I was 19, and I ran into a guy who owned a fight organization, and he thought I was already a fighter because I had cauliflower ear. And then I had to tell him, like, no, I do wrestling and I do jiu-jitsu. And he's like, oh, well, here's my card. If you ever decide that you want to fight, like, here's my number. And so my freshman year in college, it was right before nationals were going to happen. And me and the coach got into a little disagreement, and I decided to just be done with wrestling. And I remember just looking at the card the guy gave me. And I just started thinking, like, all right, this is like a bucket list type of thing. Like, let me just give it a shot. So I went and asked my coach. I was like, hey, what do you think about me doing MMA? And he's like, sounds good. You just got to train for it. And I was like, well, there's a fight in like 2 weeks. How about I just do that? And he was like, well, if you want to do it, like, I'll be behind you. So I literally took my first fight on like 2 weeks' notice, with no sparring, no boxing, no kickboxing ever in my life.
And was this this against Michael Lastner?
Yeah, yep. And
okay.
So I did, and I got an arm bar, and luckily I didn't get hit at all, like not at all. And then my second fight was shortly after that one, and I was doing a little bit of MMA training, like mostly grappling. Like when I say like training for a fight, I would do jiu-jitsu like 2 or 3 times a day. Like that was my training for a fight. And I went out again, and the same result. I got another arm bar and didn't get hit. And then my third fight, I went in and finally got rocked for the first time. And I remember that day just being like, all right, I think it's time to start learning how to strike. And that's when I really started working with Frankie Edgar.
And you won that fight by disqualification? How'd that
go? So in New Jersey, you can't ground and pound anyone. And so I was like winning the fight. Like I was picking him up, taking him down, controlling him. And then he rocked me with one punch that like set me back or sat me back. against the cage. And when I went to go get back up, the referee was like telling me to stand back up. Like the kid just stepped in and then threw a punch while I was grounded. And it actually, like, it didn't knock me out, but it, like, I got a concussion from it. Because after the fight, they raised my hand and they, they did the whole thing afterwards, taking pictures and all that. And we get to the back, and everyone's like taking my gloves off, and we wear shin pads for amateur fighting here. So they were like taking my shin pads off, and I was like, "Why are you guys taking my stuff off?" I was like, "On the next fight." I was like, "We got to warm up," and they're like, "Dude, you just fought." And I was like, "Man," I was like, "No, I'm next." Like, I was like, "Let's warm up," and they're like, "Look at you, you're full of sweat. Like, how? Like you just fought." So then, so that it was like a crazy thing. And then I ended up fighting them again when I was a pro. And I got to get my revenge on him.
All right. You started your career in 2009, and by about let's say 2015, so in 6 years you were UFC bound. Now, how did you get that UFC contract coming off of that? Was it a no? Okay, so it was a no contest.
There was a no contest, and then I fought after that. I fought Elijah. Hartsberger.
There we go.
Yeah.
All right. So you
I
got
fought,
the submission.
Yeah, I got a submission. And then me and Lyman were supposed to fight again after our first fight. And our fight was lined up. And then so I was out in New Mexico training with Donald Cerrone and all the guys out there. And I actually lived with Donald Cerrone at the time. And I got a phone call saying that the UFC wants to sign me, but I have to fight. And the fight was the same day I was supposed to fight Lyman, but it was in Australia instead of New Jersey. And when they told me who the opponent was, it was literally my roommate, at the time. So it was Kyle Noak, who lived at the ranch with me. And, I said no. Initially, I told my manager that I didn't want to take the fight because, it's one of my friends and someone that I looked up to. And then Kyle told me, he's the one that told me, hey, man, these contracts don't just come all the time. This may be your only opportunity. You have to take the fight. And so then I did, and we fought, and we're still good friends. And
so that was your actual roommate at the time. That's weird. And were you guys training together hard? And,
yeah, we were training. So he was getting ready for Andreas Stahl, I think, and I was getting ready for Lyman. And we were working a lot with each other to get ready for our fights. So I was out there for 4 weeks, and then there was 4 weeks left of camp for both of us. And that's when I got the phone call, and I went home and finished my last 4 weeks at home. And he stood at there in New Mexico.
And if I remember correctly, I kind of thought you won that Kyle Noak fight. I think that was a controversial split decision, or did you?
Yeah, like I said, the fight's over. There's no changing it or anything now. I thought I won, and a lot of people thought I won. But like Dana White always says, man, you can't leave it in the scorecards because the judges are terrible, man. Even my last fight, I knew I dominated the whole fight, but I was terrified going into the decision because you never know what the judges are looking at.
Good. Yeah, that's a great point. I think I was mad about it because you were on a lot of my DraftKings teams, and that cost me some points. So
man, you should have seen all the hate mail I got after that one. Oh no, not that one. That my second UFC fight. That I got so much hate for people betting on me and losing.
Man,
that's not my fault. I didn't tell you to put the money on me.
I think Nathan Coyle, you were the favorite in that fight. Let me see. Yes, you were negative 255 favorite. So I had more Nathan Coyle on DraftKings then. You were an underdog against Noak or near even. So I had more you. And I was mad about that Noak decision though, man. I was pretty pissed. That's why I remember it right now, looking at your record.
Yeah, Man, I had so many people reach out to me, even while still in Australia, like just telling me great job, and all the Australian fans were like super cool to me afterwards, and it was a cool experience going there.
And you only got 2 chances in the UFC. You were supposed to have another against
Yeah.
Brian Barberena at Fight Night 83.
Yeah.
He got rescheduled. What was up with that?
He got rescheduled to fight Sage Northcutt, and then he went and fought him and beat him. And I was like, man, that was like a 50-50 shot that I could have took that fight instead, And yeah, it sucks, but everything happens for a reason, man. Like my UFC career wasn't exactly what I wanted it to be, But I still think I have another run now. So
why didn't you get another fight after they rescheduled Barberena? Why did you just they cut you, or did you just decide to go and fight
yeah,
elsewhere?
so what happened was after I fought Noak, I like called them because even all the like administrative guys in the UFC, like they thought I won the fight, so they told me that they're like, we're gonna pay you your win bonus, just because we thought you won, and I was like, cool, that was like an extra, couple $1,000 that was like, would have been nice to have, right? And so I got home, I waited a couple weeks, and then I told my manager, I was like, hey, let's call them and like see what is next as far as fighting, and when does that second check come in, and when he called them, they were like, oh, we had to hold the check because something came back in the drug test, right? And I'm someone like, I don't even take like protein supplements, like I don't take anything, like I'm just not the guy to like I literally like if you tried to put me on a program of taking supplements, like I don't take anything, and something must have happened, and something came up in the drug test, so then I got suspended. I got suspended for almost a year. It was like a silent one. It was really weird how the whole thing went down. Like,
Was that a USADA positive test, or what kind of?
No, it was pre-USADA. It was right before USADA, actually. Like, I wish it was USADA, because then I would have had a chance to fight it and a chance for them to do my blood work and stuff like that. But there was like no fighting it. Like, they gave me no options, but to just accept it on my chin, and yeah, so so that's what happened. So I didn't fight for a year, and then
Hold on one
they
second.
put me against.
Was it when in the fight process did this positive test happen? Because I know Frank Mir was in a similar boat, and I don't think he was taking anything, and he fought in Australia and also came back positive. So
Yeah, it was whatever when they tested me before the fight, I guess.
and so have you ever thought that maybe there's something in Australia going on in the food?
Yeah, man, because you know what, that one, I never even heard of the drug before before this whole thing came up, and then two, I started to research it, and the craziest part is that it's an Australian drug, like it's manufactured in Australia. Like, so then it just made me like the whole situation was just weird, and it just put a sour taste in my mouth against the whole UFC, like at the time, and so I was like a little pissed off, but there was nothing I could do, and then I sat out. I didn't fight for a year, and then I came back. I was supposed to fight Barberena, and then right before our fight is when they pulled in to fight Sage Northcutt. And that's when they gave me Coy instead. And these two are, totally different styles. Like, Coy was an all-American wrestler, not exciting, like just holds you down. Barberena was like a barroom brawler. It was just different like styles to get ready for. And so I fought him, and nothing against him. He was a good dude, but I shut down. Like after the second round, my body just like stopped working. But I just remember looking at my coaches like I can't do anything, you know. And so
Why do you
yeah, I
think that
fought.
was?
Man, I have no idea. I've never. So even my first fight when I fought when I fought Noak, like I felt none of those UFC jitters everyone was talking about or the stage fright stuff. Like I embrace the crowd. Like I love that feeling of all those people watching me while I compete. And it was, man, it felt like cylinder blocks were attached to my feet. And it was weird because, like I said, going out in the first round, like I was fine. Like I felt comfortable. I felt like I was out striking him. Like I was doing well, you know. And even on all the judges' scorecards, like I won the first round. And it was right in between, like the first and second round. Like something just happened. Like something just came over my entire body, and it just wouldn't. Like it felt like I was moving in slow motion. So yeah, I don't know what it was.
Have you ever talked to any doctor about the situation, or try or had any? Do you have any hypothesis about why that happened? Adrenaline dump or something like that has, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I'm guessing is that it was an adrenaline dump. I don't think I was like sick or anything. Like I didn't feel sick. It was just a feeling that I just never, like even in wrestling I never felt it. In jiu-jitsu I've never felt it. It was really weird. But
And that's the
there's
thing
no.
about fighting is that your body gets these reactions during fights with adrenaline and fear and all that kind of stuff. And it's not because anybody's a pussy or anything like that, but your body has natural reactions to stress, the stress of combat and things like that. That after 4 or 5 minutes can lead you to shut down sometimes. I don't know if people really take that in. That it's a very unnatural and unique situation at times, in that your body will quit on you just according to nature sometimes.
Yeah.
But now, did they cut you post Koi fight, or what happened with that?
Yeah. So afterwards, I was talking with my manager. I didn't know what was next, and I just kind of shut down. Like, I didn't. It really wasn't in my heart to fight anymore. Like I was just unmotivated. Like didn't really want to train. Just got into like a coaching mode where I was helping all my teammates get ready for their fights, and so I just didn't fight for a little bit afterwards, and then I got talked into fighting again, and I fought and I did well. I finished. I finished my opponent in the first round. But it was weird. Like going into it, I felt like my heart wasn't into it. I literally it just wasn't fun for me. So then I took off for a year and didn't fight. And everyone kept saying like, please, like just fight again. Like we'll make another run to the UFC. Like all my coaches, my teammates, my fiance, everyone around me like wanted me to fight. And I just said, it's one thing losing, but it's another losing because I'm not putting in effort. If I lose because someone's better than me, then I can deal with that. But just losing because I didn't put in the hard work, like I can't live with that. So I just didn't want to fight. And then I went out and helped Cowboy. I was helping Cowboy get ready for his fight. And then while I was training with him, then Alistair Overeem asked me for his help or for my help for him because he had his fight with Verdum, and so I did Alistair's camp with him, and then right at the end of that,
So you helped a heavyweight train
yeah,
for his fight, and how much do you
yeah.
weigh in the off season? Like why did he bring you
So
in?
when I didn't fight for a year, I was a good 215 to 220 ish. So I got up there pretty heavy because that's exactly how I started working with him. Is we were all training in the gym, and then I ended up doing one round with him. And then afterwards, he's like, "Hey, man, how much do you weigh?" And I haven't stepped on a scale since my previous fight from that. And I was like, I don't know, maybe like 205. And he was like, my ass, there's no way that you're 205. He's like, you're heavyweight. Like I could feel like you're heavyweight right now. And and then I was like, no. So we made like a little bet, and I stepped on the scale after practice. So after I already sparred 5 rounds, and I was 217. So I was like, shit. I was like, I guess I am a heavyweight. And he was like, okay, because I was literally supposed to fly out that next day back home. And he's like, can I keep you here for a couple weeks and we finish my camp? So I ended up doing it. I stood the rest of his camp. And then at the end of his camp, John Jones was getting ready for Cormier. And they asked me to, train with him. So I did, and I got a good weekend with him. And they wanted me to stay for the rest of his camp. But I had to get home. I had my daughter and my fiance, and I was already gone for like 8 weeks. It was supposed to be like a 3-week trip, and it turned into 8 weeks. Like,
So you gonna train with Cormier too?
No, I trained with John Jones for Cormier.
Okay, my fault. I'm sorry. I blanked out there for a second. So all right. So so 3 weeks turned to 8 weeks. All right. And like, how do you feel about UFC management? If you get another chance to go back to a major organization or promotion, which one would you prefer? Bellator, UFC? Does it not matter to you at this point?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It all matters on what makes the most sense. I have my gym now. I have my family, so it's like hard to, get away and do my own camps. But whatever makes sense. If Bellator offers something good, then we'll take it. And if the UFC offers something good, we'll take that. When my heart's in it, I feel like I can compete at the highest level. I really feel like the last 3 years, everyone's only seen like me competing at a 25% effort. And whoever calls, I'll be ready. And as long as I have my 8 weeks of camp, like, I really feel like I can compete with everyone.
Now about that gym, you got your own gym now. You told me that you defranchised a UFC gym. Now, how in the hell does that work? I heard they don't even allow any striking at UFC gyms. Like, I don't think you can do kickboxing and stuff together with people. So, what was that all about? Oh, what they do?
Yeah, every gym offers their own things. Like, they have their own programs. Most of our clientele, when it was UFC gym, does like our cardio classes. So anything that was like boxing, kickboxing, or they used to call it like daily ultimate training, which is like a high intensity circuit training class. And all those classes are like you're learning techniques on the bags or, with the coach. And you're also doing exercises like push-ups, burpees, sprints, like all different kind of stuff throughout the gym. But then we also offer all of our other programs like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, which is contact kickboxing, our fight team, like our MMA sparring stuff. Like we offer everything. And then, I just defranchised it. Nothing against the UFC. It just made more sense, like just using my name. So it's Webb Fitness and MMA now. And, the franchise got to pay all.
Okay, so how do you defranchise a UFC gym? Why do you do that?
Well, I mean, there's it's all what kind of contract you sign. So, our contract was up, and it was either we re-signed for a long time or we get totally away from their name and their brand. So we just decided to get away from it and do our own thing.
Oh, okay. So, all right. I never knew you could defranchise a UFC gym or whatever. So you could.
Yeah,
you can pay.
So just like any franchise, you're like in a contract. So our term of our contract was up because we used to be LA Boxing back in the day, and I've worked for LA Boxing and UFC gym since I was an amateur. So since my right after my second amateur fight, I started working for LA Boxing, and then UFC bought LA Boxing, and then they changed all the LA Boxings to UFC gyms. So we were in that contract from back then, like it was LA Boxing, we switched to UFC gym, and it was a certain term. Like, I don't know exactly what our contract was, but our term was coming to an end this year. So again, we just decided to step away from it.
Oh, okay. Very, very interesting. So now what is it? Webb, you said, what is
It's
it called now?
It's Webb Fitness and MMA.
Webb Fitness and MMA. And that is up there. Is that in Philadelphia area or New York area?
No, it's right in southern New Jersey. It's called Washington Township.
Okay, all right. That's what's up. Did you watch UFC 215 this past weekend?
I watched parts of it.
Did you see the main event?
No, I watched like the highlights of it. Man, it's hard staying up watching these fights.
Especially when you do it, huh?
Okay. Living on the East Coast, like any fight that's in Vegas or anywhere like that, like the fights are so late, And to be honest, I wasn't really excited for that fight, so I wasn't gonna stay up to watch it.
I don't blame you, brother. I think it ended around 12 o'clock or like 12:30 or something like that. So, yeah, nothing really happened. I was just going to get your opinion on who you thought won. But I need you to stay on the line after you get your shout-outs or whatever. But go ahead and give it any little shout-outs or any promotions that you want to give now. Thank you so much for your contribution to the School of Black Negro Jitsu. It is an honor to have you here, Mr. Webb, UFC veteran. Any shout outs you have, any promotion that you want to do, go ahead and do that now, and then stay on the line so I can get your fight picks for my other podcast.
Oh yeah, just I just always thank my friends, my family, and my fans. Without them, I couldn't do what I do. So it's all for them.
All right, Mr. Webb, thank you so much for stopping by the School of Black Negro Jitsu today.